Hi everybody, Daniel Hogan here. Welcome back to Hogan's Drum World. So today is the start of DCI Finals week, okay? It's usually the last weekend of the summer before everybody goes back to school because Drum Corps is an incredible organization. It is an incredible thing to be a part of. I was lucky enough to be a member of the 27th Lancers in Revere, Massachusetts back in 1985. I'll talk more about that here in a minute, but I'd like to talk to you guys if you're interested in Drum Corps or if you're interested in what it's like to be in Drum Corps. It is an amazing experience. How it worked for me, okay? So how things worked out. As I was in college and I was already in marching band through high school, and we had a very successful marching program. And the thing is that, and I was like, well, and we always looked at, the thing about us in the drum line, we always, every year, we would get together and have a party, and all we would do is watch Drum Corps videos. And we'd watch all of our favorites. And luckily at our high school, we had some great teachers that came in from Drum Corps world. One was Tom Float of the Blue Devils. Another one was Ralph Johnson of the Glassmen. He wrote the book, and he wrote most of our materials and stuff. We also had his wife, his sister. She was a guard. She taught guard. She was with the Velvet Knights. We had some exposure to Drum Corps, but not until I got into college. That's when me and my friends and a couple of the guys were in the 27th Lancers. One was actually teaching in the 27th Lancers, and he still to this day still works in Drum Corps. As a matter of fact, many of my friends from high school went on to Drum Corps. One is actually one of the most successful drill riders in Drum Corps. He's worked for the Crossmen and many different drum corps. We've got others that have worked for the Colts, the Crossmen. I got friends that work for the Cavaliers, and so it was an interesting experience, and it's a lot of fun. It's summer camp on steroids. I will also tell you that Drum Corps probably produces some of the most intense and most amazing drummers and artists. You know, not just drummers, but everybody in Drum Corps is so intense and very good at what they do. It's literally every show is trying to achieve absolute perfection, and that is something that they strive for every single day, which is a great habit to get into if you're really a serious drummer. And some of the greatest drummers, right off the top of my head, Steve Gadd, Neil Peart, they were Drum Corps drummers, and I'm sure there's a bunch of others that were also had some exposure to Drum Corps as well, that have really made them stand out in the crowd. So the Drum Corps experience, it generally starts in the spring, in very early spring, late winter, that we started going to Boston and started rehearsing and finding out. We went through the audition, had to go through the audition process and try to find out who's getting in the line, who's going to be a drummer, who's going to be a bass drummer. We had cymbal players, Pitt. Several of my friends were in Pitt, and just phenomenal. One was snare drummer, and then two of us were in the multiple toms. Okay, so that was a lot of fun, but it was intense. And the thing is that in Drum Corps, it was very different from marching band. Generally, in marching band, and if you're a high school player and you're in high school marching band, and if this relates to you, please comment below and let me know, because I think a lot of high schools do it this way as well, is that all the good drummers played snare drum, okay? And then the next best drummers that couldn't get a snare drum played multiple toms, and then the guys that were left were either cymbal players or bass drummers. Okay, and that's not fair because actually some of the most insane drumming has come from bass drum lines. I mean, the one group that we worked, there was a guy we worked with by the name of Kevin McDonald, and he was the bass drum line instructor for the Boston Crusaders. And that their drum line was amazing. I mean, these guys are playing like you would not believe. Now, here's the thing. You think these guys are, 18 to 24 years old. No, they start playing at 13, 15 years old. There's junior corps. I mean, there's kids that start at 8, 9, 10 years old playing this music. If you're around a drum corps organization, the whole area around it tends to feed into it. It's not just like your high school where you have just this pool of talent. They can pull from all across the country, and that's a great thing because it teaches the young kids about diversity. It teaches young kids about playing with other people and working together as a team, and they're developing these friendships with people all over the world. Actually, you get players coming from overseas probably, and they end up being your best friends for life. And they end up when you have a career in music, you tend to cross paths pretty regularly, so that's pretty good. So what was it like in drum corps? So I went in there. I didn't want to play snare drum because again, if you saw in my earlier videos, I don't play traditional grip extremely well. So snare drum was kind of out for me, but multiple toms was fun, and I love playing multiple toms because there's a lot more things to hit. And the thing is, if you watch really good multiple tom players, they're doing some stuff. I mean, snare drum players are great, but they just got the one drum. You start adding more stuff onto them, and it's like, yeah, okay, well that's interesting. And then of course the bass drum players, again, that's a whole other world because you're playing multiple instruments with multiple musicians. So everybody's part has to fit perfectly, otherwise the pattern won't work and things won't come together. And they spend a lot of time and a lot of rehearsal time just making sure that they are all connected. They work on these exercises so that the guy in the small drum and the guy at the very end in the big drum and everybody in between knows exactly where their part is, and they know exactly what's happening, and everything comes together just perfectly. And that is a great thing. So if you're new to marching band and they put you on a bass drum, just because you're playing bass drum doesn't mean you shouldn't be playing the same things that a snare drummer does. Should you be playing double stroke rolls? Absolutely. Should you be playing, fast, flams and riffs and rudiments and all that stuff? Absolutely. You need to be playing all those things as well as, incorporating it with 5 other musicians. So, if you're in a program that, they basically, the drummers just kind of boom, 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 try to spice it up, guys. But that's the really fun thing about it. But I made the multiple tom line, and at the time we were in college, so we went out to Boston, did the audition, got the parts, and then went back to where I was living at Akron, Ohio at the time, and we were and not only on top of my normal coursework, which was intense. We were constantly practicing exercises, making sure that we were ready for the season, learning the music, because as soon as we got there, you had to learn drill, and then put the show together. We didn't have a whole lot of time, and that is a very intense schedule. It's like, our band camp was like anybody else's normal band camp, but it was ramped up. But there's a twist. There's a twist coming in the plot. So we learned the show, and we learn the music, and we go out there, and every day in the blistering sun in Salem, Massachusetts, well actually Lynn, Massachusetts, and the blistering hot sun, everybody lost a lot of weight. We were living in the basement of an old A&P, in bunk beds with 30 other guys with, 2 showers and 1 water heater. So yeah, when you're in drum corps, get used to that. Get used to cold showers. We were sleeping in gymnasiums most of the time when we were on the road, on tour. And a lot of times they would turn the air conditioning off because there was nobody in school, so we had no air conditioning, and it was hot. And then of course we went into the showers and they had the water heaters turned off, so we had no hot water, so it was cold. So it was fun like that. So that was kind of what the experience is like. We traveled on these old Greyhound buses, and it was like 30, 40 kids on a bus with all of our stuff, your uniform and everything, all the instruments and everything went on the semi trailers. Traveling on the bus was interesting. There was quite a few adventures and quite a few things there that were very fun about it. But the thing is that we traveled, and we got to do a bunch of shows. Once you've learned the show, you would think, okay, well, like when you're in high school, you would learn the show and it's done, it's over. You might add a thing here, change a thing there. Drum corps was extremely different. We changed everything all the time. And it was like you had 2 days to learn all the new drill, 2 days to learn the new music. They changed this, they changed that on the fly, and it was constant. Every single week or after every single show, something would change or something would be added or something would be changed completely. So that made things very intense. And so when you talk to people in drum corps, you're going to hear that word intense a lot, because it is. These guys are the best of the best. And I won't doubt that. I won't doubt it in a single minute. Everybody from the guard to the horn players to the pit players to the drum line, every single musician everybody on that stage are pushed to their absolute limits. That's what DCI is all about. It's professional marching band. It's very competitive. It's very exciting as well. We used to, and then of course, there was a lot of fun as well. One of the things you would expect to do if you're in drum corps, on the road, you're going to be sleeping on a bus a lot of the time, or like I said, on a gymnasium floor in a sleeping blanket or whatever. A couple times we got to stay. I know one time we got to stay at a college, and they put us up in dorm rooms. That was a real treat. That was super nice. The other things about drum corps, the food. I hope you like tuna fish sandwiches. We ate so many tuna fish sandwiches. We had a trailer that would come, one of the trailers that would come with us, and it was basically a food trailer, and it was stocked full of food. And basically we would get, like I said, tuna fish sandwiches, cold cuts, ham, sandwiches like that. If you got up early enough in the morning, got your shower in, they'd have some breakfast for you, oatmeal, eggs, bacon, whatever. So we got some meals like that. We always made sure we had plenty of water. I do remember when we were working in the South, in South Carolina, Atlanta, Tennessee, those places, the weather was so hot, and so a lot of people, and we were wearing wool uniforms. Yes, those same wool uniforms. So I like the fact that today they're more modern. They're using more breathable, airable materials. So that's a fantastic thing. But back then we were dropping like flies in the heat. So that was intense. So a lot of these kids are losing. I mean, you'll shed 5 pounds a day just in sweat. We always had to we used to wrap our towels around our heads. And that way, because you lose all your heat through your head, and therefore it helped keeping us from all passing out. The other thing you'll find out about drum corps, And I'm not sure how big it is today as it was back then, but the T-bar tan. If you had a harness, the harness went over your shoulders, went across your chest, and straight down and held your drums. Which, wearing that all day, it would leave a nice T on you with your tan. So it was fun because we would go to shows and people would see us and they know you were a drummer because of the T-bar tan. So that's a neat, that's a fun thing to stick out with. But the other nice thing about it is the camaraderie, the show. The show is 12 minutes of the most intense playing you'll ever do in your entire life. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's the most important 12 minutes of your life every single time we went on stage or onto the field. And that is what made drum corps the best, because everybody on that field, every single person out there was given 1,000% every single time. And the thing is, if something went sideways, and often things do, it really affected everybody. I mean, tensions would get high. There's been some scuffles and things like that, and it will happen. But the thing is that at the end of the day, though, we realize we're all in this together. We're one giant family, and everybody sticks up for everybody, and everybody takes care of everybody, and we take care of our own. And the nice thing is that the rivalries. For us, we were 27th Lancers. Our rivalry at the time was Garfield Cadets, which is now the Cadets of Bergen County. And they, not as much for the corps itself, but as far as the drum line. We were touted as the best drum line in the world. And the Garfield Cadets really tried to take, they try to make sure that we stayed in number 2 spot. Not always, though. We came out and we hammered them pretty good, and we really pushed them to be much better. And that's the fun thing. When you do get a rival like that, and every night you're pushing, and our scores were like, I think some of the lowest scores we had were like 88. And I think our highest one was a 96, 97 in percussion caption. And it's not unheard of in drum corps to hear 98, 99 scores. That is, and you got to realize, back then, in the 80s, we had a thing called the tick system. And so the judges would be on the field with us. And every time they'd see or hear a mistake, tick, go, tick, tick. And each tick was points off. So if you only did, if you got a 97, that's like 3 ticks. That's it for 12 minutes. 3 mistakes out of the whole drum line. That's including the pit. That's including the cymbals. That's including all the drums. So that's how drum corps was judged back in those days. And I believe the scores are still judged on a scale very similar to that. I believe the pit and the battery are broken into 2 separate fields. And that's where the 27th Lancers really stood out. And of course, one of the favorite fan things from the 27th Lancers was the finale. And if you talk to anybody in drum corps, if you say Danny Boy, everybody knows what you're talking about. Danny Boy was our finale, and we used to do this giant wheel on the field where so the drum line would be in the center, and the whole band would be turning around, spinning around like a cyclone. And then we would come around to the very last chorus, and the whole line, we'd stretch end zone to end zone. Everybody would stretch out and just hit it. And the volume that was pushed into the audience was absolutely intense. And I remember playing in Meadowlands, New Jersey, and we did that. And we thought we were loud. There were probably, it was like almost 20,000. I don't know, it was busy, it was filled. And the roar that came back from the audience is one of the most beautiful things you could ever possibly hear in your entire life. Just that roar of the audience just cheering and screaming at that point is just an amazing thing. That wasn't my first experience with something like that. I know that when I was in high school, we did Gustav Holst, The Planets, and we would end with Jupiter, and it would start off nice and slow and easy, but then it would come around, and then the horn line would just kick up and just blare into the audience, and the whole you just couldn't help but be emotional in something as beautiful as that. It was the most intense thing in history. But anyways, that's like I said. But playing the shows were great. We did a few parades, but it was fun because at the end of the night, even after all the competing and everything, they would bring all the corps out onto the field, and we'd be standing next to our rivals, the Garfield Cadets, or we'd be next to the Crossmen, or we'd be next to somebody else, and we'd start chatting. Hey, what's going on, man? And you start building friendships. And we'd start seeing the same people show after show after show in different corps. Of course there are rivals, but you know what? That's on the field. Off the field, we're just regular kids, having a good time. It was a lot of fun. We all took care of each other. We had great instructors. I still talk to a couple of mine, and they're super, super great people. If you're interested in doing DCI, I definitely, would encourage it. I would say go out, try it, give it a try. I will tell you, it's not for everybody. I will also say that I did not finish my season with the 27th Lancers. I had to leave halfway through the season because of an issue back home, and that's a whole other topic in itself. But anyways, I still loved what I learned there. I still love the people. So this Saturday, if you're anywhere near Indianapolis, Indiana, I would encourage this. Find out where the corps are at before the stadium. That is the place you want to be. They generally are staying at the local high schools. So if you're in Indianapolis, kind of figure out, or ask around and see who's at what high school. Or if you don't know where they're at rehearsing, generally go to the parking lot. So if you're at Lucas Oil Stadium, hang out in the parking lot and watch all the warm-ups. Watch all the drumline warm-ups. That to me is like my favorite part of the whole show, is watching the drum lines. They're doing all their various warm-ups, and their warm-ups are insane. And then the other thing is working through drum solos, working through this, working through that. The stuff you hear in the parking lot is going to be hard to hear when the whole band's playing, because a lot of it gets buried under giant, massive horn lines from time to time, or the pit, and everything else as well. So you miss some of those nuances at what these drummers are actually playing, and they're playing some of the most insane stickings and rudiments and patterns that you could ever imagine. So yeah, absolutely, that's the best part about it. Go visit a show. If there's one near you, absolutely do the same thing. Get there early. Definitely get there early. Scout out where they're practicing, where they're hiding at, and then go over and just hang out and just watch them, and that you'll see some amazing things, and maybe it'll inspire you to join a drum corps yourself. there's a lot of varieties of drum corps. I know several of my friends from 2/7 left and are now members of the Blue Coat, went to the Blue Coats, and because the Blue Coats just started when we were in Akron. And I know two of my friends that were in the inaugural, and they're still members of the Alumni Corps. So there's Alumni Corps, okay? Then you have Junior Corps, so they have the Junior Corps. They have B Corps for smaller drum corps. Then you have your main corps, the big drum corps. Then they have Winter Guard, or Winter Corps, so WGI. There was another one that came out for a while that was just drum lines. It was just drumline competitions. That I don't know if that took off or not, but you can check that out as well. But to find out more information, please go to DCI.org, which is drumcorpsinternational.org. So DCI.org or WGI.org, or there's another one, Flow, FLO Marching. Follow Flow Marching, and you can actually watch videos and things like that from the shows as well. But anyways, that's my experience. That's my love for drum corps. I wish all the corps this week the best of luck. I don't have any skin in the game for any of the corps right now. I really love what the Crossmen were doing. I really love the Cavaliers. Santa Clara has been great. Blue Coats are awesome. They're phenomenal. But so my old favorite, the Blue Devils, they're all amazing corps. Just, hey, all you kids go out there, have fun. I hope you had an amazing experience while you're out there. And I really look forward to seeing the show this weekend. So